So what is web development? Web development involves creating, maintaining websites and web applications. It includes designing, coding, testing, and deploying web-based solutions. Web developers use programming languages, frameworks, and tools such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, Python. These are the languages that are used by web developers, along with the frameworks that makes our life easier to build such large applications. And there are various other tools that will help us during this development process. So web developers, they work with web servers, database, APIs, content management systems, and they also may involve in web design, user experience design, and search engine optimization. So web development is essential for businesses and organizations to establish and maintain an online presence and engage with their audience through the web. So what are the roles of web developer? Web developers' roles include designing and developing websites and web applications, writing code using programming languages such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, Python, or others. There are many programming languages out there. Collaborating with web designers, user experience designers, and other team members to ensure that the website or web application meets the requirements and goals of the project. Testing and debugging code to ensure that the website or web application works correctly and is free of errors. A web developer also ensures that the website or web application is responsive on smaller or big screen sizes on mobile devices as well as user-friendly and accessible to users with different devices and disabilities. Optimizing the website or web application for search engine optimization to increase its visibility and ranking on search engine, that is also falls into the roles of a web developer. Maintaining and updating the website or web application to ensure that it remains functional, secure, and up to date with the latest web technologies and standards. What is the difference between front-end, back-end, and full-stack developer? Front-end developer. The front-end developer is responsible for building the parts of a website or web application that user interact with directly. This includes designing and coding the user interface, creating responsive layouts, and writing scripts and languages such as JavaScript to enable user interaction. Front-end developer typically works with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and related technologies. Back-end developer. A back-end developer is responsible for building the parts of a website or web application that users do not see but that are essential for its functionality. This includes building the server-side infrastructure, creating APIs, and working with databases. A back-end developer typically works with languages like Java, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, or PHP. So there are many programming languages available to work in the back-end. However, in the front-end, JavaScript is pretty much the only language that we can use to build user interfaces. Full-stack developer. A full-stack developer is someone who can work on both the front-end and back-end of the website or web application. They have a broad range of skills and can handle different aspects of web development, from user interface design to server-side coding and database management. A full-stack developer is comfortable working with both front-end and back-end technologies and can build a complete web application from start to finish. And the great thing about this is that's what you become by the end of this course. So you may be asking, what is the right path to become a full-stack web developer? You have to learn the basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in order to become a full-stack developer. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are the three fundamental technologies of the web. HTML is used for creating the structure of a web page. CSS is used for styling and layout, and JavaScript is used for adding interactivity, and functionality to a website. You need to get familiar with programming concepts. So learning programming concepts such as variables, data types, loops, and functions is essential for becoming a full-stack JavaScript developer. Learn a framework. Once you have learned the basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you can start learning a JavaScript framework. Frameworks like React, Angular, and Vue.js are popular choices for front-end web development, and Node.js with Express.js is a popular choice for back-end web development. Build projects. Building projects is the best way to reinforce what you have learned and gain hands-on experience. Start with small projects like building a simple website or simple web application, and gradually move on to more complex projects. And practice, more practice. To become a full-stack JavaScript developer, you need to practice coding constantly. There are a variety of projects you can undertake as a beginner, ranging from to-do apps to blogging apps, e-commerce, and social media applications. Later in this course, you will learn to build your own blogging application, which will be a full-stack application all the way from scratch. Why learn JavaScript? JavaScript is a versatile programming language that is widely used in web development, making it an essential language to learn for anyone interested in building web applications. Here are some reasons why you should learn JavaScript. Front-end web development. JavaScript is a key language for front-end web development, which involves creating the user-facing part of the website or web application. With JavaScript, you can create dynamic and interactive user interfaces, add animations and effects, and handle user input. Backend web development. JavaScript can also be used for backend web development using popular frameworks like Node.js. This allows you to use the same language for both front-end and backend of a web application, which can make development more efficient and streamlined. Popularity and demand. JavaScript is one of the most popular programming languages in the world, and it's used by a wide range of companies and industries. Learning JavaScript can make you more competitive in the job market and open up more opportunities for your career. Community and resources. JavaScript has a large and active developer community, which means there are many resources available for learning and troubleshooting. We can find online forums, tutorials, and open source projects to help you learn and grow as a developer. Cross-platform development. JavaScript is not limited to web development. It can also be used for cross-platform development, including desktop and mobile applications. With frameworks like Electron and React Native, you can use JavaScript to build native desktop and mobile applications. Alright, now you're going to learn how to write your very first code, very first HTML code. The first thing you want to do is download a text editor, and I recommend downloading Visual Studio Code. It is by Microsoft, it is free to use, and it is the most popular, most used text editor for coding. Of course, you could write code in any other editors. You could even use Notepad or Microsoft Word, but that will not be practical because you can see the opening tag, closing tag, and then again you have to open and close. You know, these things, when you have to type letter by letter manually, that takes a lot of time and you will end up making a lot of typos as well. So for those reasons, it's not recommended to use a regular text editor. Instead, you should use a text editor that is designed for coding. So let's go ahead and download Visual Studio Code. So you can go to code.visualstudio.com, and then you can download depending on your operating system, whether you are on Windows or Mac. Once you download, you can install just like you install any other software. Once it is installed, you will be able to open it. So I have already installed, so I can click on the icon to open, or I can use shortcut in my Mac. Alright, so once you install, open it up. Alright, so once you have the editor, you can create new file, open the existing folder. So let's go ahead and create a folder manually where you want to create a project. So you can see I have this folder here. So I'm going to create a project inside this folder. Of course, you can choose any folders you like. So let me create a new folder. Let me call it HTML CSS, and I can click and drag this folder here. All right, so that's how you can open. Now you can create a file inside this folder. So here you can click on this icon to create a new file and give it a name. Let's call it index.html. We're going to create a HTML file, so we use the extension .html. Now here you can start writing HTML code. The first thing I want to show you is the most common HTML code that you will end up writing, and that is headings. Headings, they start from heading 1 all the way to heading 6. So heading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then paragraphs, which are the common HTML elements that you use all the time. So let's start with H1. If you want to create a heading, like I said, heading starts from H1 all the way down to H6. So we start with H1, and you see this editor is really nice. So as soon as I type H1, so the opening bracket H1, and I close, and then once I do that, it automatically writes this closing H1 for me. So you don't have to manually write here. That makes your life a lot easier. Okay, so this is how it works by default with VS Code. Now there are plugins also available in VS Code. I will be showing you some of the useful plugins along the way later on, but by default Visual Studio Code help you write code easier. So here let's try something. Let's say HTML and CSS. Let's just write that. So we have the heading 1, HTML and CSS. Now how do you see it on the browser? That's pretty straightforward too. So you want to go to your folder, and here you have the index.html file. So all you need to do is open this file in your web browser, for example Chrome. All right, so we have Chrome, Google Chrome. So you can click and drag. You can click and drag, or you can right click and choose open with, whichever you like. So let me just click and drag, and you see we have got our heading 1, HTML and CSS. Congratulations, you have written your very first code in HTML.